start the recording. Thanks. All yours, Paula.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining me today as we go through the murky waters of the services and training price proposal template. So today we are going to be talking about the services and training price proposal template. We are going to be focusing on the labor category specifically with hourly rates. We're going to talk about what this price proposal template is, give you some instructions and resources. We're going to show you where these price proposal templates reside. We're going to ensure you have a better understanding of the new offer price proposal template and how to fill it out accurately, as well as ensuring you understand the difference with the mod and the new offer template and how to fill the mod template out. We're also going to give you some price proposal template tips, tricks, and reminders. And then at the end, after my conclusion, we are going to allow some time for some Q&A. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. One thing I want to quickly remind you of is that if you are in the FAST catalog platform now, first of all, yay. Second of all, you will not, this price proposal template will not apply to you if you are using the Services Plus file now. So if you are in FAST catalog platform and only using the Services Plus file, this may not be as helpful as a presentation for you just because we're talking about vendors that are not in the FAST catalog platform or who are still using that services and training price proposal template for services. So first of all, what is the price proposal template? This is an Excel spreadsheet which a new offer or current contractor must complete as part of the pricing section for the mass solicitation. It also applies to awarded contractors when they are submitting modifications which require changes to their items, their services, or their pricing, or some of their terms. Per the solicitation, it is applicable to both products and services. There is a different template for each, but you must submit the proposed pricing using the applicable price proposal template, which for those that are not in the FAST catalog platform are available on the mass offer page, which I will show you in just a little bit. Why is it so important that we have an accurate price proposal template? So all of our labor categories that have hourly rates are published into what we call Calc Plus, which is a tool used by industry and government wide to help us see what is the ceiling rates at which mass contracts are awarded. It also includes other types of solutions for past prices paid like GWACs and other types of pricing. So this tool supports the government in providing this LCAP pricing for business intelligence purposes. Acquisition staff can use the ceiling rates to help them develop market research estimates, independent government cost estimates, conduct their price analysis, establish benchmarking for their for competitive pricing. So it is super beneficial for all the acquisition workforce, industry, and other government buyers. And so that is why it's so important that we have price proposal templates because those templates are published into Calc Plus where the final pricing resides. With a price proposal template, that is a way that we are able to submit our pricing to Calc Plus. And in order to do that, our templates have to be completed accurately and completely. Otherwise, there will be errors in our internal system that won't allow us to publish that information to Calc Plus. So our price proposal template is that catalyst to ensure that our pricing for LCATs in the Calc Plus tool is valid and accurate. So where can I find pricing instructions and resources? So for press special instructions on certain prices or on certain types of products or services, you do need to look up the SIN lookup table, and it can give you any special requirements for that particular SIN as far as if you're looking to see if there's any special requirements. Also on the solicitation available offerings page, there's an Excel or on a solicitation page, there's an Excel attachment that you can link to give you some information about all the SINs and their offerings. So here's a little look about like kind of what the SINs include. And if you go to the solicitation, you can find links to the various attachments and look at kind of what's specifically required for that particular SIN. So that's kind of where some of this information is. Okay, on to the next slide. So the price proposal template must be submitted in an Excel format. You must always ensure that the price proposal template for services are in the correct format and that the data is consistent. So where do you go to find your price proposal template? I'm going to click this here. This is the required templates for mass offers, which is available on our mass website. And you're going to go down here, and you always want to look on the site because this template is updated regularly. And you also want to make sure you're using the correct one. So this is the site for new offer, and this is where your price proposal template is, and you would download it here. There's also a template for after you have an offer, and it's a mod template. And it's also on the same place under requirements after getting a mass contract. And you can go down here and you can get your services template. Again, these are updated regularly, so I encourage you all to bookmark these sites and save them because you really want to download a new template, especially when there's a new refresh issued, which refresh 25 was issued recently, and I think refresh 26 is going to be issued in April. So just make sure that you're always using the most current version of the price proposal template because we do make changes to the template with the refreshes as necessary. So your proposed pricing should be consistent with your commercial practices. So first, let's go over the new offer PPT. So like I said, you go into the roadmap to get a mass contract, and you'll go into required templates, and then the site provides your standard mass templates. So you go to require mass templates, and here you are. Now, please take into consideration there are some SINs that require specific templates outside of this services and training price proposal template or for products, the price proposal template. So just make sure you're double checking the considerations and following the right requirements for the particular SIN for which you are offering. This particular training focuses on the price proposal template for services. So there's also previously, if you might remember, the pricing terms was a tab on the price proposal template. Now it's a separate attachment. So if you're submitting a new offer, it's actually under the required templates to submit a new offer, and it's a separate attachment. And that's something that if you're, for example, if you've had a contract for a long time and you're submitting a streamlined offer, that might be something that's new to you. So just wanted to point that out. Okay. Like I said, price proposal templates are generally updated with each refresh, so just make sure you're always downloading the most current version. So also always review the large category attachments specific to your proposed pricing to make sure that you are meeting the requirements for that particular large category. So just something to remember. There is an available offering spreadsheet that you can use as well that kind of gives you some of the specific requirements. The following SINs, like I said earlier, do require a specific price proposal template that is unique from any others. So make sure again that you're looking at those SINs like I already mentioned on my previous slides. For modifications, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, you need to go to the requirements after getting a mass contract, and there's actually 2 locations that you can find them. So you can find them on this page, which includes a more overview of what's required for modifications. And then you can also go to this modification and mass modification guidance page, and it takes you down through the process. It includes a link to the mod guide, and plug for the mod guide. Make sure you're uploading or downloading the most current version each time you do a mod as well, because that's going to give you the best instructions, and they're always being updated with our refreshes. So the service and training mod price results template is right here. And please make sure that if you're under a mod, you're using the mod price proposal template. And if you're submitting an offer, you're using the offer price proposal template. That is very important for us to be able to publish our data to CalcPlus and also to ensure that we are filling out the correct spots. So when you're submitting your price proposal template, there are several critical things that you really need to double check. This is for a new offer, and then we're going to go into kind of some things to be looking for in a mod. First of all, I know I can't say this enough, make sure you're using the new offer template because we've often seen mod templates in a new offer. Other PPTs are not acceptable. Do not delete or hide any columns or rows. Make sure that if you're proposing a fixed escalation, that you fill out the escalation tab and make sure that your pricing terms attachments matches what you put on your escalation tab of your PPT. Otherwise, people are going to be very confused when they're evaluating your offer. If your tab, your pricing terms attachment says 15% annual escalation rate, which please don't ever have 15% annual escalation rate, and your escalation tab on your price proposal template has a 2% escalation rate, that's obviously going to be a cause for concern and raise some questions. So just make sure that you're putting that correctly. Or if you're offering 552-21670, then there shouldn't be an escalation rate. So just kind of keep those things in mind. To go on with this, please, 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 please read the README first instructions. It can give you so much valuable information as you're going through your price proposal template. There's a lot of columns, a lot of rows to fill out, and it gives you very, very explicit instructions on how to complete your template. I know it takes a little bit of time, but it's super helpful to learn and to understand what the requirements and instructions are prior to completing the template. Make sure the correct tabs are completed. So when it's a new offer, it's not as difficult because you only have a few tabs, but you want to have your services pricing. And then if you have a fixed escalation, you want to make sure your fixed escalation tab is completed. Make sure that the description column type is correct. So this is a big one. This is one we often see issues with. So if you have an SCLS labor category, then you have to choose SCLS labor category from the drop-down menu. If it's a fixed price service, such as, I don't know, sweeping the kitchen, and that's at a fixed price, then you use fixed price service solution. And then if it's a commercial labor category, so it's not subject to SCLS, anything not subject to SCLS is considered a commercial labor category. So any professional services labor category that's not subject to SCLS, engineer, most likely commercial labor category. So please, please, please double check that because that is one of the most common errors we find. And fixed price services solutions are not published to Calc. So commercial labor category and SCLS labor category would be the only thing that is posted to Calc Plus. Also, please do not override the dropdowns. That will cause an error. You need to choose from those 3 dropdowns. That's all you can choose. Don't type in professional service category. Use commercial labor category. Okay. Please ensure that you follow the examples. Do not override formulas. There are 2 ways in which you can do your pricing. There's 2 example rows. You either provide the price exclusive of IFF or you provide the discount to GSA. One or the other, and then those gray columns or gray rows, whatever you want to call them, they have formula in them. Do not override the formula. That's how they're supposed to be. And that allows for accuracy in how we calculate pricing because we're all using the same playing field. Whenever you're done, make sure you delete the example rows. We don't need them anymore once you've used them for your example. So make sure those 2 example rows are gone. Always check your minimum education field. It is a drop down. Do not override the drop downs. That's important. I know that it can be tempting, but don't do it. if you write over thing, then we're going to have an error and we're not going to be able to get it to Calc Plus. Refresh PPTs will not allow write-ins, but we can get creative sometimes and find ways to override it. So please just don't do that. Check the unit of issue field and make sure you select hourly or from the drop down. Not unless it's not an hourly rate. If it's a fixed price service, then don't select hourly. But when we're talking about labor categories, select hourly. Don't override the template drop downs. Check for any blank or empty rows. That will, whenever we're publishing our stuff to Calc Plus or whatever, it'll stop at that first blank row. So make sure that you fill out each row. Don't leave any blanks. It causes errors for us. If you're in a mod, always use the mod PPT. Do not use the new offer PPT because we will need to reject that mod or request clarifications or whatever if you use the new offer PPT. Always ensure you're using the most current version of the mod PPT, and I showed you a couple times where you can find that. There are a number of tabs, as you can see. Make sure you're filling out the right tab. And note that there are differences for TDR and non-TDR when it comes to an economic price adjustment. So make sure that if you're a TDR contractor, transactional data reporting, that you're using the TDR tab for an EPA. And if you are a traditional contractor under non-TDR, you use the non-TDR tab. This is very important that you use the correct tab. The services pricing A tab must always be completed. It should include all of your labor categories, services, pricing, as if the mod were approved. So let's say you're doing an EPA, you want a 20% increase in price. What's on the services price tab should be the most current pricing as if the mod were approved today. So you would use whatever that EPA price is in that EPA tab. That would be what you would put in your services pricing A tab. And also, if you do have a fixed escalation rate and you're using out year pricing, then that services pricing A tab needs to be updated to whatever year you are currently in. And then when you do your fixed escalation tab for your change, you're going to start at whatever year you're at. You don't fill out year one because if you're in year 10, year one has long since gone. So we need to be making sure that we're filling out the tabs in the correct and appropriate manner and that we're using the correct pricing. Otherwise, your pricing will look very strange when you look at Calc Plus because it's going to use the wrong pricing. So that's really important that when you have a fixed escalation rate and you're adding labor categories in year 5, your services pricing A tab has year 5 pricing for everything, and then that you include the additional labor categories that you're offering in that services pricing A tab with the proposed rate. So those are some things to remember. As you can see, there's the services pricing A tab, the EPA non-TDA tab, the EPA TDR tab, EPA non-TDR tab, services pricing tab. That's for like if you have adds or deletes. And then you have your first fixed escalation services tab, which is anytime you have fixed escalation rates, you'll need to make sure to have that tab is completed. And then you have your fixed escalation services tab B, which is where you're putting your ads if you have ads. So that is something to just really remember. And again, you've got your examples. Do not override the formulas, pretty please. We want to make sure we're all in the same playing field. So choose one method. Either you input your discount or you input your price exclusive of IFF and follow that same path all the way down and remove those example rows because they're just used for examples. Also, read the read me first instructions prior to completing your mod template. It is different from the new offer template. So even if you've got the new offer read me first instructions memorized, you need to read the read me first tab of the mod template when you're doing a mod. Okay, as we continue on, you want to make sure, again, with the mods, that your description type is accurate. Please remember, if you have a commercial labor category, that means it's either professional or anything that's not SCLS, you use the commercial labor category dropdown. If it's an SCLS labor category, services contract labor standards, you use the SCLS dropdown. You only use the fixed price services solution tabs, drop down for fixed price services or solutions. Very, very, very important. Under your minimum education, despite any desire to override it, do not override it. Choose from the drop downs. Check the unit of issue always to make sure that if you have an LCAT labor category that you select hourly, do not override. This looks very familiar to the new offer, as you can see. Again, check for blank rows because that will stop it from publishing at that blank row. And always remember that that services price in tab A is your current year pricing. This is especially important if you have fixed escalation rates, and always include the prices for the EPA or the ad or whatever you're doing. It's supposed to be as if the mod were approved. So make sure that that tab A comes with every mod. Even though it is a little tedious, it does need to be submitted with your mod. So here's some quick reminders. Where do you go to get your new offer price proposal template? The mass.gov website, which is right here. And here is where your new offer templates are. And then we're just going to go to the mass modification page. And here is where your handy dandy little mod guide is, PDF format, as well as your modification price proposal templates. So just bookmark those pages right on up. Ensure that everything is completed in accordance with the Read Me First instructions. As a best practice, please do not change column headers, titles, or manipulate the template unless the instructions specifically state to change those headers. Reminder, ensure the following only use the drop downs, don't override them. So column C is a description type, minimum education, security clearance, contractor, customer, facility, or both, domestic, overseas, or both, and unit of issue. Those are all drop downs. Use the drop downs. Use the offer price proposal template for an offer. Use the mod price proposal template for a mod. Use the exact formulas as shown in the examples. There's a row 2 and row 3. Use those formulas. Do not override them. Ensure the services tab A and fixed escalation tab A is always completed with your mods. Make sure that your appropriate tabs are completed at all times. Do not delete columns. Do not leave rows blank. And if you have a unique situation that you have questions about, do not play the guessing game. Reach out to your CO or CS, and they can help you through the process. It is better to have a clean template than have all kinds of issues with it, and you have to go back and forth with your contracting officer at a later time. So if you have questions, reach out. Some additional reminders. Every mod that addresses services, pricing, even deletion must include the tab A, as if the mod were approved. For mods, tab A must include the current year pricing. So update that pricing to current year. And make sure if you have a fixed escalation rate, make sure that tab A is approved or completed for the fixed escalation as well, and that you're not going backwards in your pricing. So you should use, what's the current year going forward when you're putting out your pricing. It is not acceptable for offers and contractors to automatically assign all labor categories to all SINs. This is important. Review your labor categories and functions and make sure that they fall within the scope of that applicable SIN. So let's say you're offering 561210 FAC, which is a facilities and maintenance SIN, and you're offering software services. Many of those software services are probably not going to go under the facilities and hardware category. So you wouldn't want to offer them under both SINs. Also, the OLM SIN is an order level material SIN. No services are awarded under the OLM SIN at the mass level. That is an order level SIN. So on your price proposal template, you should never have OLM as one of the SINs that is proposed. And I see that quite often. So that's something to just double check for. Even if you really want to put it in there, don't do it. So this is an example that we have. All labor categories proposed and are awarded under the engineering SINs will not apply to the advertising and marketing SINs. There may be some labor categories that are applicable to multiple SINs, but definitely not all. So that's just a quick little reminder. In conclusion, the PPT is an extremely important part of your contract. So just please, please, please make sure that you're completing it accurately and that you are really paying attention to the read me first instructions. Actually, I'm actually going to show you, give you a little gander here at the price proposal template, just so you can kind of see it in the flesh. If I can get it to download for me. And also always download it. Don't try to use it some kind of um other thing or something. Oh shoot. Okay, let's see. Price proposal template. Services pricing. So this is what the template looks like. Here's your read me first instructions. They're very, very detailed, so make sure you go through it all and read each and every row and understand what your requirements are. And remember, there's different requirements for most favored customer versus, or sorry, TDR versus non-TDR. So here's where you're going to put your pricing. And this is your first example. So you have example rows of how to fill out the pricing. And here's where our little formulas are that you're not supposed to override, please. So there's those. And then here's your little fixed escalation tab. And here's where you put your escalation rate, and then it populates the pricing. So this is something that the template that this is for new offers. And I'm just going to show you like the drop downs. You see these little drop downs? This is where you don't override them. If you don't have MFC, if you're TDR, then don't fill out the MFC column or the commercial MFC column or the difference between GSA discount and MFC discount column, because you are TDR, and so MFC information would not apply in your situation. So don't fill those out because that can get confusing for someone that's reviewing your offer. So those are the only things that you want to leave blank if you're a TDR offer. If you're non-TDR, please do fill those out. So that is kind of a look at what our template looks like, just so you can see it in the flesh. And now I believe I have completed my presentation. Just please, please, please make sure that you're really looking at the instructions, double checking them, and filling out that template. It will really help us to be able to move more smoothly and quickly through our evaluation process. And it will also allow us to continue to build Calc Plus. Just as a quick reminder, the FAST Catalog platform is separate from this. So if you are in the FAST Catalog platform and you're using the Services Plus file, do not use the PPT unless there's some kind of special situation. But if you're in it, you should be using the Services Plus file if you're in the FAST Catalog platform, and this template training or presentation would not apply in your situation. So that is it, and I think we're ready for questions.
Awesome, Paul. Thank you. There's a few questions in here. If you want to take a look, or if you want, I can read them out to you and you can answer them as you see fit.
Yes, please just go ahead and read them out to me.
Sure. So first one is, if and when you address IFF in the PPT, we understand that exclusions are travel costs, but can you clarify if we are able to exclude contracts where our mass schedule specifically disallows any fees, indirects, IFF, profit, on top of ODCs declaring them pass-through only? Unless that's something you want to table and we can answer that afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm fully following the question, but yeah, we'll table that and answer that later. But your rates for labor categories are fully burdened rates, and then there's a price exclusive of IFF in the price proposal template, and then there's a price inclusive of IFF, that's where the formula is calculated. The price inclusive of IFF is always a formula that's calculated. So we'll look at that question though and come up with a response and respond.
Okay, so here's another one. If we are starting year 6 and want to add a fixed escalation rate, do we enter it in year 6, even though we did not have it in years 1 through 5?
if you're proposing a fixed escalation rate for year 6, then you'll complete your template and you will submit the tab A, which services tab A price is as if the mod were approved. So you're going to put your current price there, and then in your fixed escalation tab B, you're going to put out the year 6 on pricing with your escalation rate that you would like to get approved. So you wouldn't do years 1 through 5 because those have passed. You'd start with year 6, and then your services tab A would also be year 6 onward.
Great. If we submit an offer under refresh 26 and refresh 27 changes the document's requirements before the review is complete, is our offer evaluated under the requirements at the time of submission, or do we have to start over?
So that is something you want to coordinate with your COCS. They will talk to you about whether or not they need you to update to the most current version of the template. So that would be a CO discretion consideration if you've already started the process. And if during the valuation process you accept the next refresh, it might also be at the stage you are at. So have you negotiated yet? Things like that to consider. The changes have not been substantial. So even if it's a small change, it's not difficult to transfer from one version to the next when it isn't substantial, but that would be a CO discretion consideration.
Awesome. Next question is, what if the labor category needs a particular certification but not a degree? Which part do you put that in?
I believe there's something that's called other technical certification. So you could drop down that. And there's also something that a substitution column that you can fill out as well with more description. So I would put it in one of those columns.
Great. And on here it says, there are 2 methods of calculation for the labor category price. Aren't we supposed to delete one of the rows?
You're supposed to delete both of them once you've chosen the one that you want to use. So you either use one version or the other. You don't mix between the two. Those are just examples. So once you've determined which one you want to use, you would use that same pattern for all the rows below that. So
Perfect.
you don't want to keep the example row.
Perfect. So also, if you're doing no escalation rate, do you leave that blank?
Yes, please. That's great. Good question. Yeah, leave that blank if you're doing no escalation.
Okay, just a couple more here. So it says, is it okay to add extra columns to the PPT?
No, not unless you get specific approval from your CO.
Great. And two of the final questions. Why do the templates not include the special edit checks, such as clearing, mentioning if TDR is used, do not also complete X? All to say, we would like to see in-text edit checks or data validation text within the templates.
I will bring that back to the team.
Great. And the last one is, when submitting a mod in an out year, year 2 through 20, do we delete the years prior on pricing tab B so a changed EPA goes into effect?
So a changed EPA goes into effect. Can you ask that question again? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. When submitting a mod in an out year, year 2 through 20, do we delete the prior year's pricing on tab B so a changed EPA goes into effect?
So if you're wanting to add like a new if you're wanting to add an escalation rate and you've never had an escalation rate before, then you could delete those 2 tabs or just leave them empty. Or I think you might need to actually delete them for the first 2 years and then just start with year 3 onward if you're just now proposing an escalation rate when you previously had no escalation rate.
Awesome. I think we'll give it a minute, but there are no more open questions. We have some that we'll answer. I just want to make everybody aware that we will be providing a recording of this training, as well as all of the Q&A answered in text form. It'll be distributed out in the next couple of weeks. Unless you have anything else to add, Paul, I think we can wrap up and call it a day.
No, I think that one thing I want to say is it is really helpful to us if you all are just really paying attention to those instructions. I think I've said it before, but we just can't tell you how helpful it is to have a clean price proposal template for us to be able to review and evaluate. And also, we really want to build Calc Plus up and make it more robust for industry, customers, and our COs and CSs. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for allowing me to present today.
Awesome. Thank you, Paula.